There are a lot of really lovely kindergartens out there, and we'll help you find one for your child. And we're going to tell you about the different kinds of schools available to you. You can apply to as many schools as you like, your zoned neighborhood school or another neighborhood school that might have space, or a special program like a dual language program or a charter school. Most kids in the city go to their zoned neighborhood schools, and I'm a big fan of neighborhood schools. There's some real advantages to it. It's close to home. One of the things that makes a good school is a good sense of community, and it's a lot easier to build a sense of community if the parents can drop by at a moment's notice, if it's easy to get to PTA meetings, if you can't pick your child up from school, there's a neighbor who can do it easily. The other thing is kids get really tired. I mean, my daughter used to fall asleep on my shoulder when I brought her home from kindergarten. You know, a 6-hour day is long for a 5-year-old, and if you're adding on some commuting time, that can make a really long, tiring day. So if you're considering a good school, which is your neighborhood school, or a great school that's miles away, I would probably pick the good school that's the neighborhood school. No school is perfect, public, private, suburban, urban. So what you have to decide is what you can put up with and what you can fix and what you're just going to, what is really intolerable. My kids' school only had PE once a week. I thought that was ridiculous, but they joined the West Side Soccer League, which is free, parent cooperative, and they got plenty of exercise on weekends that way. Besides your zoned neighborhood school, there's some schools that don't have an attendance zone around them, but are open to children from across the whole district or even across the city. These schools don't require an exam. Some of them are first come, first serve. Some of them are lottery. Some of them were set up as alternatives to traditional neighborhood schools, with parents who really wanted their kids to have a progressive approach to education. They wanted to have more learned by doing. They wanted a more informal atmosphere where the kids might call the teachers by their first names, where there was plenty of time to play with blocks and to splash around in the sand table, where they wouldn't have textbooks, that they would have fun-to-read picture books. This is what we call progressive schools, and a lot of the unzoned schools are progressive schools. You'll see some of them. Ella Baker on the Upper East Side accepts kids from all 5 boroughs. Central Park East is sort of the granddaddy of the alternative unzoned schools. It accepts kids from all 5 boroughs. A lot of Bronx parents have chosen it. It's in East Harlem. Bronx New School, Brooklyn New School, and the progressive schools on the Lower East Side, which include the neighborhood school. There's another option for parents that I think is kind of exciting in New York. This is called the dual language programs. In these, half the kids have one native language and half the kids have another. Spanish is the most popular. So half the kids speak English at home and half the kids speak Spanish at home. And the language of instruction alternates either day by day or week by week. On the Upper West Side, PS 75 and PS 87 have popular programs. PS 84 both on the Upper West Side, and there's also a PS 84 in Williamsburg and Brooklyn that has a dual language in Spanish and English. We also have dual language in Chinese and English at PS 20 on the Lower East Side. Parents from Brooklyn sometimes come into that one. Magnet programs are schools that receive federal money for the purpose of racial integration. The hope is that white kids would go to a mostly non-white school, or non-white kids would go to a mostly white school in order to integrate them more. Charter schools are public schools. They're tuition-free, but they're not run by the Department of Education. And they have more flexibility in hiring. Most of them don't have unionized teachers. Their admission is by lottery. And each school sets its own deadline for charter schools, but all are, have to be due by April 1st. The charter schools were mostly in low-income neighborhoods where parents were really fed up with their other options. Now there are a few in middle-class neighborhoods as well. Honestly, the charter schools are a mixed bag. Some of them are great, and some of them are really not ready for prime time. Some of those, like the Renaissance Charter School in Jackson Heights in Queens or Community Roots in Brooklyn, are very much on the progressive side of things. Whereas other schools within the charter network, or the charter system, are very traditional. So they have lots of rules. They have rules about when you can go to the bathroom and rules about, when you can raise your hand. And they have uniforms, and teachers are given very precise instructions about how and what to teach. To trust your instincts, you know what's right for your family. But there's an awful lot of good things going on in the public schools, and that's what we're here to tell you about.